Good morning, I'm Scott Willison with the Confluence Fly Shop in Bellingham, Washington. It is June here in North Puget Sound, and a great time to be fishing our warm water lakes for bass. A lot of our lake temps are in the upper 60s, 70 degrees, and the bass are active and they're good to go. Today I'm going to showcase a newer material, or new to us anyway, from F&F Fly Fishing out of the UK. This is called Predator 9 worm material. We're going to use it to tie a bass worm pattern. And the bass worm pattern will be called appropriately the P9 from outer space. So I'm starting here with a size 2 Gamakatsu B10S in the vise. And I've got 140 Denier black ultra thread that we're going to wind on there. And I'm going to lay a base all the way down around the bend of the hook a little ways, because we're going to put a weed guard on this puppy. So you can fish it virtually anywhere you want to. I'm going to use 20-pound Rio hard alloy. This is a really stiff material. Maxima clear. Mason hard nylon is also good, and you'll notice this has a natural curve to it, so I'm going to take advantage of that and tie it in so that curve is kind of pointing toward the eye of the hook. And ideally I want to tie this stuff onto the sides of the hook. I've got one on, and then we'll do one on the opposite side. And I've tied single weed guards before. They sort of work if it's not too brushy, but if you really want to fish in the thick of things, this double weed guard's hard to beat. Just make sure that's cranked down so it's not going to slip around on me. And I think we're good on that. I'm going to go ahead and coat it quickly with bone dry Solarez. It's a UV resin, really thin, going to soak in and just protect those thread wraps so this thing doesn't get all frayed and abraded when I'm out fishing it in the jungle. Alright, we should be good there. And then we'll hit that with the light. Alright, and for the moment I'm just going to kind of tuck that weed guard out of the way so it doesn't get in the way. The color I'm choosing for this one is called Brandling worm. This is apparently the color of worms in Brandling, but it is a kind of a burgundy wine color. This stuff's really cool. It's got all kinds of little rubbery flecks in it. It's kind of neutrally buoyant, so it's not going to sink super fast, which is ideally what I want. And I'm tying in a fairly long length. This is more than I will likely need for the whole thing, but we can trim the excess, and I'm just going to tie that in right before the bend. And then the next thing I'm doing is just twisting it up, and this is kind of a tedious process. Twisting it counterclockwise in this case, but you could do it clockwise as well, just so long as you're consistent. If you remember the old rubber band trick where you'd spin up a rubber band really quickly and really tightly and let it go into somebody's hair so it would get all caught up in there. That's essentially what I'm doing here. It's a technique called furling. So once I feel like I've got that adequately twisted, I'm going to kind of measure out my length. Usually go about at least 3 times the length of the shank on this. And then I'm going to pinch it together with my fingers and fold it over on itself. It will then twist back on itself. And make a nice worm body. Then I can bind it down here. You could also burn the end of this stuff and just use a single strand. I find if you furl it, makes a more substantial body, and it's also a lot more durable. These things will last forever. Alright, so I'm going to take some of this excess I've got. And we'll go ahead and wind that just a little more than halfway up the shank. And then tie that off. All right. Pretty simple up till this point. Here's where we're going to get a little fancier. I'm going to make a dubbing loop about 4 inches long or so. And be sure to take the thread around the base of the loop 2 or 3 times to close the loop. That's going to help hold your materials in there better. And then we'll put our little stone faux dubbing spinner in there. And then we're going to make a composite loop. This is kind of where the world of steelhead flies and intruders and that sort of thing gets fused with bass. So for my base material, I've got STS Trilobal dubbing in black bloody leech. It's kind of red and black mixed. And I'm going to take a couple inches of that and we'll lay it out like so. Next, I've got some purple UV Predator wrap. And we're going to cut about 1.5 inches of this stuff. And spread that out kind of in the center on about half of this. Last material is one I've been playing around with a lot lately called Senyo Shaggy dub. It's a rubbery dubbing that's just, as the name implies, really shaggy and scraggly, and it's very cool stuff. So we're going to lay that over the top there, and then we'll take our other end of the Trilobal dub and fold that over so it's just kind of sandwiched together. And when you use that technique, it all kind of gloms together pretty effectively. We'll go ahead and place this into the dubbing loop right in the center over the dubbing, and then we're going to spin that up. And got a couple legs flying out there, but that's okay. We'll spin that fairly tight, and then we're going to take our ultimate dubbing brush and really rough that up and free up any trapped fibers. And then we'll go ahead and wrap our nice little collar. With each wrap, I'm gonna kind of stroke things back. There we go. Make sure I've got that tied in. And you can see that just makes a very wiggly, pulsating collar that's going to go nuts in the water. This fly is nice because it'll be moving and rippling and jiggling even when you're not retrieving it very quickly or even retrieving it at all. So we'll build up a little head there, and then we're going to go back to our weed guard and pull these both up. I'm going to trim them even because it makes it a little easier to size. We'll get those ends together. And we're going to feed those up through the eye of the hook. I like to invert the fly for this. So I don't want them too big, but I want them big enough so that if I apply some pressure with my finger, I'm not feeling the hook point. And that's what's going to happen when you're out fishing this in the lily pads. It's just going to crawl through that stuff. Once I've got it sized pretty evenly, I'm just going to press down and lock those into place. Test them again, make sure they're where we want them to be. And then we can kind of smooth that material out of the way. Build up a little head. Go ahead and trim those flush with the eye of the hook. And then do a whip finish. Then we'll trim that out. We're going to put a little bit more of the Solarez to protect these thread wraps. I just love this stuff. This is kind of replaced head cement for me because it's durable, it's easy. And it's good stuff. So we'll go ahead and hit that with the light. Alright, and then we have one more thing to do, and I'm sure you're saying to yourself at this point, Scott, how am I going to get my leader through the eye of the hook with that weed guard in there? Well, I have with me today a little cautery pen. These are super handy for this sort of thing. If you don't have one of these, you can also take a lighter and heat up a bodkin, and that will do the trick. But these things are super fancy. And I'm just going to heat that up and just melt out the eye. All right. Got a little burning rubber in there. It smells great in here right now, but that's what happens. So there you have it, the P9 from outer space, ready to fish on your favorite bass lake near you. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. Have a great day.